A midnight call from the king, an informal summons, and a meeting no one could foresee destined to change the Prince of Wales forever. In a small room at Balmoral, two men lay bare their truths, no secrets left to hide. Words are spoken that will never reach the public. Charles, not the resolute king, but a father nearing the end of his journey carrying a deep regret. William, ever composed before millions of eyes, allows himself for the first time to be a son. For the first time in years, William sheds tears not for the crown, but for wounds long healed. Watch to the end to feel it. What a father leaves behind lies not in a will, but in the heart. London's early summer skies drape the city in a cold gray cloak. No rain falls, but heavy clouds loom, mirroring the mood of a man hiding something unspeakable. In the grand hall of Clarence House, soft golden light spills from an antique crystal chandelier. King Charles sits on a green velvet chair, his back slightly hunched, his right hand resting on his thigh, bony fingers occasionally clenching. On the table, a steaming cup of tea sits untouched. An aide enters quietly, presenting a folder for signing. Charles nods faintly, his eyes lacking their former spark. Dark circles betray exhaustion no makeup can conceal. Since the 20th anniversary celebration of his marriage to Camilla, whispers about the king's health have grown louder. Close-up photos from the event reveal a trembling hand, slow steps, and a face etched with strain. Just age, nothing to speculate about, Camilla once said lightly over a private dinner, but her voice lacked conviction. Yet in the royal family, especially when the monarch is concerned, just age is never just that. Every small sign can spark a tidal wave of public scrutiny, carrying countless theories and expectations. At Kensington Palace, Prince William pores over a report from a charity he supports. His face is calm, as the public has come to expect through countless camera lenses, but behind his eyes lies a deep well of introspection. The recent anniversary was a PR triumph, at least by palace standards. But William knows the tension behind the polished smiles. He watched his father every gesture, every glance, and saw it clearly. The man is slipping away from the present, even if his body still attends the ceremonies. Catherine, his wife, gently places a hand on his shoulder. Still not sleeping, she asks softly, her eyes warm with concern. William shakes his head, folding the report. "Father's hiding something," he says quietly but firmly. That night, as the palace sleeps, the private phone in William's room buzzes sharply. No ringtone, just a faint vibration enough to jolt him awake. He glances at the screen. Charles R. William sits up, heart racing. He presses accept and lifts the phone to his ear. "William, it's me." The voice is low, hoarse, trailing off with a faint wheeze. "I'm here, Father." A long pause follows, filled only by the faint sound of breathing. "I need you to come to Balmoral. Alone. No ceremony, no guards, no press." William doesn't reply immediately. The request from a man who lives by protocol feels like the first crack in a frozen surface. "Tomorrow, if you can manage it." Charles adds, then hangs up without waiting for an answer. The phone remains in William's hand, its screen long dark. In the stillness, he stares toward the window. Outside, wind rustles through the garden, stirring the leaves. A storm is coming, not from nature, but from a father's heart. Church bells echo faintly across the city, blending with the fragile morning sunlight. William sits in a car heading to a military airfield. His eyes track London receding through the window, but his mind drifts back to a simpler time when his small hand fit perfectly in his mother's. Memories never die, they only sleep. William was 5 when he first heard raised voices echoing through Kensington Palace's corridors. A door slammed shut, but his mother, Princess Diana's voice, broke with sobs. Then came silence, a silence that stretched like the gap between thunderclaps. He hid in his room, clutching a worn teddy bear, his wide eyes fixed on the door. Then his mother appeared, eyes red but smiling gently when she saw him. "Everything's fine, my darling." The name Camilla first reached William's ears in hushed arguments among the nannies. She's still in touch with him. No one can replace Princess Diana. To young William, Camilla wasn't a person, but a shadow, a nameless thorn, faceless but ever present. Then the accident. Paris, the tunnel, the flash of cameras, and no more mother. William was 15. He didn't cry at the funeral, not a single tear. The press praised his strength, but no one saw his heart shatter into countless fragments. His father, Charles, wasn't cold, but nor was he close. He was consumed with managing the media storm palace pressures and protecting the monarchy's image, everything but sitting down to hold his son. As William grew, the distance between father and son widened. Whenever William won public affection, Charles remained silent. When William caught his father's gaze during ceremonies, he saw not pride but caution, sometimes envy. He wondered, does father see in me the regret of a man who lost my mother? Once Charles invited William to Highgrove, the family's summer home. He tried to connect, speaking of the rose Diana planted, recalling old memories. But to William, it felt hollow. "You're always too late," he thought but never said. The truth was, every gesture of comfort, every pat on the shoulder, only reminded him of what was lost. William didn't need a king for a father, he needed a real father, one who'd sit on his bed late at night, hold him, and say, "I hurt too, son. I miss your mother as much as you do." But Charles never did. As years passed, William learned to stay composed before hundreds of cameras, to smile at funerals, bow to strangers, and deliver scripted speeches. The press called him the face of the new monarchy, the hope of the crown. He carried out tours, represented the family, and supported charities. But at night, alone before a mirror, William still saw the eyes of that boy empty, searching for something that would never return. Once Catherine asked, "Do you ever think of her?" William paused, then nodded slowly. Every day, the flight to Balmoral begins its descent. Through the window, William sees Scotland's rolling hills emerge cloaked in thin mist. He takes a deep breath, his hand tightening. The meeting ahead isn't just a summons from a king, it's a confrontation with the father who unknowingly carved the deepest scars in his heart, and perhaps the last chance to heal them. Balmoral greets William with a fine, misty rain. The sky is gray, the ground damp, but the air carries the scent of wet pine and ancient time. The car winds through a forested road, past memories of picnics with his mother and Harry, when childhood was still untouched by the weight of destiny. Ahead looms the gray stone castle, stark against the wild landscape. But today, William isn't here to chase memories. He's here to receive something. Something he's long awaited, long feared, and never truly wanted. The title ceremony is private but steeped in royal tradition. A palace secretary, a Scottish parliamentary representative, a few high-ranking nobles, and a single photographer. William kneels in formal attire. Before him stands the king, dressed in a traditional robe embroidered with the Cornish crest, a symbol of their lineage. "By the authority of the crown, I bestow upon you the titles of Duke of Cornwall and Duke of Rothesay, titles borne by heirs to the throne across centuries." Charles's voice is steady, unwavering. William bows, receiving the ceremonial sword's tap on his shoulder. He doesn't tremble or feel moved. It's a scene he's witnessed countless times, only now he's the lead. A camera flashes once, then silence. The media erupts, Prince William, Scotland's new duke. The heir shows leadership, a modern symbol for the monarchy's future. Social media floods with millions of congratulations. Newspapers splash images of William standing tall, his gaze resolute, a living statue of succession. But inside, William feels nothing. The ancient titles, woven with tradition and ancestral blood, feel like invisible chains. Each word, Duke, Prince, heir, builds another brick in the wall between him and his true self. That evening, after handshakes and congratulations, William retreats to his room in the castle. He loosens his tie, sheds the ceremonial coat, and faces the mirror. The jacket with its family crest remains. But the eyes staring back are weary, unfamiliar, as if he's just tried on a role not meant for him. On the table lies a handwritten card from Charles. "You did well. Your mother would be proud." William stares at the words. Your mother, not we. He steps onto the balcony. The rain hasn't stopped. The night sky is veiled in mist, and Balmoral's forest whispers something he can't decipher. Beneath the new titles, the ancient crests, and the public's cheers, a child still searches for an embrace forgotten in the past. The next morning, Catherine calls. Her voice is warm, soft. The kids want to congratulate their dad. William smiles through the phone. He hears Charlotte's cheerful voice. "Daddy's a duke. Now, does that mean more cake?" He laughs a real laugh, not for the cameras, but for his small family, the one thing in his life that needs no ceremony to prove its worth. Hanging up, William sits in silence. Yesterday's ceremonies and speeches ran smoothly, like a machine honed over centuries, but his heart still aches for something power and titles can't fill. Balmoral's afternoon drapes a thin rain over ancient pines. Mist clings to the gravel path, gilded by rare faint sunlight. William walks toward the West Wing, a place not for ceremonies or visitors. The small sitting room, oak-paneled, holds an old granite fireplace and beige armchairs upholstered in Scottish wool. No guards, no aides, no camera clicks. Just two men, father and son, facing each other, like an old and young man who've endured similar losses, but walked different paths. Charles wears a moss-green turtleneck, a shawl draped loosely over his shoulders. His eyes are sunken, his hands trembling slightly as he lifts a steaming teacup. He nods to his son, a slow, deliberate gesture. Not ceremonial, just a father welcoming his child home. William sits hands on his knees, his gaze scanning the room, as if seeking an anchor. Then he speaks, his voice low. "You wanted to talk. I'm here." Charles stares into the crackling fire. After a long pause, he replies, his voice familiar but wearier, heavier, laced with cracks. "Sometimes I wonder, if I weren't king, could I have been a better father?" William doesn't answer. He doesn't know how, when his own anger and love remain tangled after all these years. Charles leans back, his hand rubbing his knee, an old habit from youth. "Do you remember when you were 3 falling in Highgrove's garden? Your mother panicked, but I was too busy hosting dignitaries from the White House." He chuckles softly, a sad sound, like rain on stone. "That was the first time I realized the palace and my son couldn't both come first, and I chose wrong." William's grip tightens. A faint memory surges, wet grass, his own cries, his mother's hands wiping tears, and in the distance, his father's figure not looking back. "I didn't need you to be perfect," William says slowly. "I just sometimes needed you to be more father than king." Charles meets his son's eyes. They glisten not with tears, but with something deeper, regret that can never be undone. "I was jealous of you," he admits, exhaling, "because you're a better father than I was, because you hold on to the love of the woman you married, and because you don't let the throne overshadow who you are." The room falls silent. Only the fires crackle and the wind outside remain. William speaks hesitant. "I used to hate Camilla. I thought she was why mother suffered. But then, I realized no one's the sole reason for a breakdown. It was the era, the duties, the shell of the monarchy." Charles nods, lips pursed, as if holding back an unnamed tear. "I didn't love Camilla to spite Diana. I just didn't know how to be a decent husband." He leans forward, eyes earnest. "Don't repeat my mistakes, William. Don't let duty steal your heart." William falls silent. For the first time in years, he sees not a king defined by power and obligation, but a man aging, weakening, aware of all he's lost on his path to the throne. "I thought I'd forgiven you," William murmurs, "but I guess I've been carrying resentment all along." "I don't expect you to forget," Charles replies. "I just hope you won't carry it forever, like I carried my father's mistakes." The fire pops softly, as if consoling them. William looks at his father, no longer judging, no longer guarded. In that moment, the lost child within him feels found not by words or promises, but by the gentle gaze of a father who's finally lowered his armor. "If this is the last time we talk like this," Charles says, breaking the silence, "let it be real. No throne, no protocol, no expectations, just you and me." William nods. His chest feels heavy but no longer cold. For the first time amid the cracks of a dynasty, he feels he's not alone. The old clock above the fireplace chimes 10 o'clock. Outside, the rain has stopped, but thick darkness cloaks Balmoral Castle. In the room with just father and son, the fire dwindles, casting a faint orange glow on Charles's weary face. He sits quietly, eyes lost in the void. William doesn't break the silence. He senses something in that gaze, a confession waiting to be spoken. Suddenly, Charles reaches out slowly, placing his hand on his son's. His fingers are thin, dry, cold, but for the first time in William's memory, it's a real grasp, not from a king or a figurehead, but from a father nearing his end. "I don't have much time left, William." His voice is soft, not dramatic, but it tightens William's chest. He doesn't reply. He only squeezes his father's hand, and that squeeze prompts a faint nod from Charles, as if receiving long-awaited comfort. "I've lived my life bound by duty, son, to a queen husband, to a princess king, to a nation. But even now I feel I failed, as a father. William lowers his head, his throat tightens. All these years he's wanted to hear this, not to blame, but to know he wasn't invisible to his father. Charles continues, slow but resolute. I'm not here to hand you the throne that will come. I'm here to remind you. Being king is a duty, but being a father, a brother, is what keeps you from losing yourself. William looks up, their eyes meeting. No protocol, no defenses. Just truth raw, unpolished. Charles takes a deep breath as if the next words are the hardest, about Harry. I know there's pain between you, but you must understand, even if he chose to leave, he's still your brother. William's hand tightens. The name Harry still cuts like an open wound. He recalls the anger, the disappointment, the interviews, and the distant gaze of the brother who once ran with him through Kensington's gardens. I can't forget what he said, William says, voice strained. I'm not asking you to forget, Charles replies softly. I'm asking you to remember blood can't be severed. Even if you walk different paths, keep one road open in case you need to find each other again. Charles rises slowly, walking to a desk. He opens a drawer, retrieving a letter sealed with red wax. I wrote this not for the public, not for the Prime Minister. For you, he hands it to William. It's not a command, but a few things I hope you'll remember when you take my place, if that comes sooner than I thought. William takes the letter, his hands trembling slightly, not from power, but from the weight of unspoken father-son love, now contained in a single sheet. Charles looks at his son one last time, offering a small, genuine smile, truer than any he's worn before cameras. You don't need to be like me, William. The world has enough kings trained to be strong. It needs an heir who dares to be vulnerable, to listen to love. William swallows hard. His chest burns as if shedding an invisible armor he's worn since boyhood. I promise, he whispers. I won't just be the heir to the throne. I'll be the one who holds our family together. Charles closes his eyes briefly. His slow nod is a final approval. Scotland's sky turns to night. The rain has long ceased, leaving only the wind rustling through ancient pines and the scent of damp earth. William sits alone in a small upstairs room at Balmoral, the same room where he and his brother once played hide-and-seek, where their mother read to them during fleeting summer days. He opens the window. Cold air brushes his face, carrying a childhood he thought buried. In his hand is Charles's letter, still sealed, heavy as a relic. He doesn't open it. He doesn't need to. The truest words have already been spoken, not in ink, but in a handshake, a nod, and eyes that hid nothing. William sinks into an armchair by the fireplace, head bowed. Memories flood back like unstoppable waves. He remembers his mother, her clear laughter, their walks through Kensington's gardens. The evenings she read Peter Pan to two boys, one destined to be king, the other not, but both believing they could fly. He remembers that fateful day, the flag-draped coffin, the tolling bells, his brother's red-rimmed eyes. He didn't cry then. He wasn't allowed to. A prince must be strong, they said. So the boy William became a wax figure, waving, bowing, but unable to feel pain. Now the father who always kept his distance is the one granting him permission to be vulnerable. William buries his face in his hands. His breathing falters. His broad shoulders tremble. No cameras, no PR advisors, no Catherine, no children. Just him, a grown son who lost his mother too soon and is losing his father too fast. And for the first time in decades, William weeps, not tears of weakness, but of release, when wounds are named, burdens acknowledged, and love is no longer a luxury. The fire's glow dances as if comforting him. William steadies himself, wipes his face, and looks at a photo on the shelf, him and his father, at a long-ago Balmoral picnic. Charles still had brown hair. William wore a red jacket embroidered with his name. He nods to himself. I won't be a king like you, father, but I'll be the father you wished you could have been. A vow needing no paper, no proclamation. Just William and the fire in his heart, warm and achingly real. As he leaves the room, dawn breaks faintly. The ground sparkles with dew, but the air feels gentle, like a soothing whisper. He's no longer the man who arrived at Balmoral yesterday. That man was a prince braced within a mold. Now he's a father, a husband, a son cleansed of 20 years of smoldering anger. And above all, a brother ready to open his heart, unsure if a hand waits on the other side. The official news breaks Monday morning. Clarence House issues a brief statement seismic enough to shake the United Kingdom. King Charles III is undergoing treatment for a serious condition. His Majesty will continue his symbolic role, but most royal duties will temporarily transfer to the Prince of Wales. No mention of cancer, no stage specified. But the public needs no more to understand, and the ripple of speculation spreads across newspapers, broadcasts, and social media. William appears at the opening of a children's medical center in Bristol. No robe, no crown, just a white shirt, navy blazer, and a calm smile. The press gathers in droves, camera flashes blinding as he steps from the car. But William doesn't flinch. He walks slowly, steadily, as if each step carries his father's shadow. "I stand here not just for royal duty," he tells the media, his voice warm and clear. "I stand here for a father who taught me that care lies not in ceremony, but in action." The crowd falls silent. No one expected this William, but his simplicity makes him more relatable than ever. Days later, William, Catherine, and their 3 children visit a community beekeeping project, a small, low-ceremony charity event rich with meaning. He kneels to speak with a girl with autism, helping her inspect a hive. His gloved hand rests gently on her shoulder, his eyes kind, not performing, but truly fatherly. A photo goes viral, William and George sharing biscuits, Charlotte giggling in her mother's arms. The image isn't perfect, but it's real, and it evokes an older memory, Diana, simple and compassionate, visiting hospitals. No one says it, but all feel it. William is redefining what it means to be an heir. That night, with the children asleep, William sits at his reading desk, a soft lamp casting light on his tired face. Catherine approaches, resting a hand on his shoulder. "You did well today," she whispers. William smiles. "I'm not sure what's right, but I know if father had the strength, he'd have done the same." Catherine sits leaning against him. "He'd be proud. So am I." No more words are needed. After years of challenges, the gap once created by duty is now filled with understanding. They're not just prince and princess, they're partners carrying a dynasty with warm hands and loving hearts. A rare calm settles over Kensington Palace one weekend afternoon. Soft sunlight filters through the trees, their leaves rustling in the breeze like a wordless melody crafted for a monarchy in transition. In a small room in the palace's west wing, once Diana's study, William sits alone. No secretaries, no guards. Only the steady tick of a wall clock, like a slow heartbeat. On the desk lie 2 objects, a family photo and a small wooden box. William opens the box. Inside is the silver coronet of the Duke of Cornwall, the first title his father bestowed, the first step on the inescapable path of succession. The coronet doesn't gleam, but something about it holds his gaze. Perhaps because it's not just a symbol of power, but a mirror reflecting himself, a man who lost his mother, resented his father, stayed silent with his brother, and learned to forgive. William lifts the photo frame, a family picnic in Norfolk. Catherine beams, Charlotte fights Louis for a biscuit. George clings to his father's hand, eyes full of trust. It's not a portrait of a dynasty, but a moment of a real family. He places the frame beside the coronet. In the quiet afternoon light, they represent 2 worlds, one of fate, the other of choice. A breeze slips through an open window. Outside, the children's laughter echoes from the garden. Charlotte sings a nursery rhyme. George kicks a rubber ball, and Louis, always Louis, runs, falls, and gets up again. William smiles faintly. He rises, leaving the coronet on the desk. Not a rejection, but a pause. Right now, his heart demands precedence over the crown. He walks down the marble corridor, past portraits of ancestors, kings, queens, dukes, watching silently. But this time, their gazes don't weigh on him. Instead, he feels light, as if those old souls nod in approval of an heir who breaks the mold. He pushes open the garden door. The children rush to him, swarming like bees to honey. "Daddy's here," Charlotte squeals. "Play soccer, Dad?" George holds up the ball. "You gotta be..." "The chasing monster," Louis yells. William laughs loudly, scooping Louis up and roaring, "Watch out, the monster's coming." The kids shriek, scattering. Sunlight stretches across the green lawn. In that moment, no one cares who William is, not a prince, not an heir, not the new face of the monarchy. He's just a dad to 3 kids laughing under the sun. That night, with the children asleep, William returns to the room. The coronet still waits on the desk. He doesn't try it on. He only rests a hand on it, whispering, "I understand now, Father. I won't let the throne eclipse my heart." Outside, the moon rises, illuminating the garden and ancient stone steps. Somewhere in the breeze, an echo lingers, Charles' voice, or perhaps Diana's whispering. Love is the true legacy. William closes his eyes, nods, and steps into the future, crown in hand, but heart in his chest. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to spread its meaning, and join us for more emotional royal tales.